is arguing with God. And I'm going to read those to you. And I'll translate them as I read them. We don't usually read that way, but I want to do the dialogue. Moses is basically complaining. You told me all this stuff. I know you by name. You found favor in my eye. If you mean it, put your money where your mouth is. If you mean it, come with us. Don't be saying stuff like that if you don't come with us. And if you don't come, we're not going either. And I can picture God, thinking, for the humblest man on earth, this guy is really mouthy. Then the next lines through 23, we're still in chapter 33. Moses asked God, show me your glory. And this, what God describes it is going to do is very much like the portion with the covenant between the pieces with Abraham. Because if you look at that one, when you have time, that's in Genesis 15. You go look there. Who did everything while Abraham snored and slept? God did it, right? Abraham had to kill the animals, but he has to do that to eat anyway. God comes down. He produces the fire. He produces the smoke. He dances between the sections. He declares the promises. He probably even had to wake Abraham up. But Abraham didn't do anything. And in this one, look at what God tells Moses. Very similar. I'll show you the place. I'll put you in it. I'll cover you. I'll pass by. I'll call out my name. And I'll tell you when to come out when it's okay. And I'll tell you what you can look at and what you can't look at. Now, what does Moses do? Once again, nothing. But with one of my favorite TV shows, they say, Poca niente. That's Giuseppe Fazio in the Montalbano Mysteries. That's his little and nothing. Or one of the other characters says, niente meno, nothing and even less. That's what Moses did. He just stood there. God really wanted the relationship with Abraham. He really wanted the relationship with Moses, so he did everything. That's the kind of God we have. He doesn't ask us to do stuff. He just says, show up, let me do it. And then in the subsequent verses, he says, which we'll go back to when I go over there, I will show favor to whom I show favor, and mercy to whom I show mercy. And in the verses right after that one, this one always sticks with me. 2 times in 3 verses, God says, I'll show you my goodness, but I will not show you my face. 2 times he says, I can't show you my face. I won't, because if I do, no one can see my face and live. So keep that in mind, because we're going to go back to that. Then for the next 9 or so, 10 verses, Moses makes the 2 new tablets. He goes back up, and God proceeds to reveal his glory and the proclamation of 13 attributes, which is, normally that's the part of what we read today. It's even part of the liturgy that we pray on holy days. But not today, we won't do that one. We'll do a different part. And then he promises to Moses, I like this one too, I'm going to do miracles that have never been done on earth. Now these are the people that have just seen the plagues. These are the people that have seen the Red Sea parted, that have seen the pillar of fire. What's left? Well, there is, they're still making the water into wine, blind to see, raising the dead. There's still some to go. So he says, I'm going to do some stuff I haven't done yet. Then in the next 7 or 8 verses in chapter 34, God seals the covenant with Moses and promises to drive the Canaanites out. But in exchange, he instructs us that we have to destroy all vestiges of idolatry, no covenants with the inhabitants. We cannot engage with them or act like them. And then at the last line after that, 19 and 20, I think it is, we are to sanctify the male firstborn, male of humans and cattle. Our tradition of the Pidyon Haben comes from that. Some of the dead will talk about that. And then the last few lines of the portion, God mentions Shabbat and the Regalim, the 3 feast days of which today is one. And I like that one too, because God describes something that's hard. It was really hard to get your brains around it. Israel, then, when they entered the land, were going to be surrounded by enemies, just as they are today. That hasn't changed. But what God says is all your males, all of them, have to go to the temple 3 times a year. So today, the equivalent would be, in Israel, it would be the border guards, the soldiers, the IDF, the counterterrorism, for the Shin Bet, the intelligence services that are looking for the temple. What do they call them? Sayed Hagal, right? They have to go to the temple, so they can't do what they're supposed to do to protect the country. They got to go to the temple if we were doing that today. So who's going to guard the borders? Who's going to protect from terrorists? The Lord says, I will. I myself will guard your borders, and he doesn't say I'll maintain them. I like it because he uses here, Chafti, I will widen them, I'm going to keep pushing them out. You go worship, and I'll start pushing. So that's how Israel was supposed to get big and inherit all of the promises to Abraham, not by going to war, but by going to worship. Hey, I like it. It's okay. And then the last, of course, the end portion is not to offer the Pesach with the leavened bread, and don't boil a kid in its mother's milk. And we won't get into that, but that's why the tractate Chulin is this big, and the portion called Hashin is this big, and the Talmud is this big. All because of that verse. So I want to go back just to, I will not show you my face. In Exodus 33, 2 times in 3 verses, God says, I won't show you my face. Okay. And I've talked once before, one of our traditions is that the reason he does it is because on the front of him is the box of his tefillin, this is all Kabbalah. And it's on fire. All the verses about how much he loves us is in the front. Whether it's the Shekinah or the verses where he's on fire in the front of him. And if you saw that, because it's leaking, if you saw God's love or that fire spilling out the front, you instantly want to be in its presence forever, right? It's spectacular, I'm sure. And of course, you can't do that in this body. To be in the presence of the fire, you have to leave. And we have a tradition, a Jewish tradition, that when a person's going to die, whether it's in the hospital room or the battlefield or whatever, when they are dying, because it says you can't see my face and live, when you're about to die, it doesn't matter anymore, because you're dying. So the presence of God shows up, and the last thing you see before you die is the Shekinah Hashem.
Amen.
And we have a tradition that if you were blinded in your illness or in battle, if you were born blind, you get your eyesight back.
Amen.
1 minute, long enough to see the face of God and go, I'm out of here, that's it, I'm done. And we stick to that tradition, even us, because anybody here who's worked with me in the Chevra Kadisha, where we prepare dead body, we wash and shroud a body for burial. Some of you have. I know Barry has, Tracy has. I don't remember who else. Sorry, I can't remember. If you have, you know that what we do when a person is the week died, we cover their eyes. And we wash every square centimeter of your whole body. Don't touch their eyes. They stay covered. Because we don't know for sure. Those may be the only piece of human tissue that saw God. So we don't touch them. They don't need to be clean. They don't need nothing I can do for them. They just stay alive. But in any case, when you see God, it looks like you die. However, watch that. Okay, this part I can't resolve. In Exodus, 2 times in 3 verses, God says, I won't show you my face. Then you go to number 6, and he says 2 times in 3 verses, pray that I show you my face. Which is it? Either he can't or he won't, or he will. And he's very specific. If you look at what the priests are supposed to pray, first they're supposed to pray that God will beam his face, turn the light on, and then you pray that he'll turn it so you can actually look at it, you can see it. So either we're not supposed to see it or we are. God's not confused. He meant what he said. You have to go, you got to fast forward the New Testament to know what he's talking about, I think. I don't think the rabbis were wrong with God's face being on fire. I don't think so, because Moses just looked back, right, and his face is on fire. So it has something to do with fire. If you go to the New Testament, you start seeing what's in there, what's in God's face. You go to Matthew 17, we've talked about this before. When Yeshua pulled the veil a little bit on the mountaintop, what does his face look like? It's on fire. And there's John and the other disciple, plop on their face like dead men, right? You see, if you can't see my face on there, right? Plop. Revelation 1, here's John again, right? He sees the Messiah. And some of the lines say his eyes are on fire. Some of the lines say his face is on fire. And what is John like? Right on his face, like a dead man. He says that as the one who's dead. But more important, you go to Hebrews. When you finally see God's face, who will you see? What will it look like? It says the sun is the radiance of God's glory. The sun, when you finally get to look in God's face, when he finally turns it and looks at you, you're going to see the sun. And the best part isn't even that. The best part, John wrote again, because John was around this space an awful lot. He wrote, "Beloved, we are the children of God. We are already the children of God. But we haven't yet turned into what we're going to turn into. And that won't happen until we get to look. And when we finally get to look at his face, we're going to turn into exactly what we see." So if you think about it, it says God's a consuming fire. Yeshua's face on fire. When we finally get to see Yeshua, I don't think we're going to turn into some ethereal little disembodied, little ghosty looking thing. I don't think so. It says we're going to see that fire, we're going to turn into that. We're going to be something immense, awesome. I can't picture it. Ask somebody who has a degree in theology. But I think it's going to be spectacular. It's not. We can look like this because Yeshua did. He can eat, crack jokes, cook fish, right? But he also was on fire. So I think we're going to have that.
Amen.
Amen.
Last part, grace to whom I show grace. When I was in Italy in July, the last place I visited in the boot before I went back home to my apartment in Sicily was Lecce. And I have taught, that's in Puglia, the bottom of the heel, very deep south, rural Italy. Of course, very Catholic. Most people couldn't find Lecce on the map, me either. I was going there for a concert. But the Holy Spirit knew where this place was. I couldn't find it, but he did. This place is, it's rural and it has a Baroque southern part. And I've already shared that on Shabbat. I was in the Jewish quarter and I went to the mikveh and the synagogue and so on. But I'm going to tell you what happened very briefly on Sunday, the next day. I was there actually a day or so because I was going to a concert at 9 on Sunday. It was late. They do everything late in Italy. So I had the day to myself. And I was walking in the Baroque South Park. And Lecce, like much of Europe, has a lot of churches. And Lecce has more than normal because it was Spanish for a while. It was under control of Carlo V, King Charles V. And he kind of had this habit of, you would look at anything that looked Catholic enough, Spanish enough, level it and build the Catholic church on top. Or an abbey or monastery. So they got a lot. And like much of Europe, they're often empty. Some of them are used for museums. Afternoons, if there's 3 people go to Mass in the morning, in the afternoon they'll open it up for a few euros to see the paintings. And I was walking in that part of town. I was near the church of Chiesa di San Matteo, St. Matthew Church. And I was a block away, and I could hear it before I saw it. There was worship and singing and glorias and offertorio and benedizione bouncing out of the church, echoing off the walls. And as I walked up, I got to go look at this. There's a crowd. They're spilling out the back of the church, down the stairs, and down the Garibaldi Street or whatever street it was. What's the Rosemary knows? All the other streets are called Vittorio Emanuele, right? One of those streets. And there's a big crowd, and I thought it must be a feast day or something. They're going to bring out the statue of a saint. They're going to do something, right? No. I get up close, and there's people on the stairs. When I got closer, I said, oh, maybe they're going to go to this museum. It must be a special exhibit today. So I'm going to walk up close and see people must be waiting for Mass to be done so they can go and see the painting. And I get up close, and the poor security guard at the door, there's people yelling at him, arguing with him. And they're yelling at him in Pugliese Italian. Noi quadro, I didn't come here to look at pictures. We came here to sing blessings. We want to worship. Let us in. And I'm in Catholic Italy. Wait a minute. And they're hollering at him. But my kids, we're doing the offertorio. I like that glory. My kids want to sing to the Lord. Let me in. And there's huge crowds of people trying to get in the church. It wasn't a feast day. It wasn't anything. And as the guard said, this is a normal Sunday of my life. They worship here. They love the Lord. And I stuck my head in. All the fixed seats, I think it's pews, they call it with the benches, pew, full. Folding chairs on the side, full. Wall-to-wall, standing room only on the walls, full. Spilling out the back door. And the sound is echoing off the ceiling and the walls and everything else. It was delicious. It was wonderful. So after that, I walked back to go to my hotel to get ready to go out that night. And I asked the Lord, what was that? And he quickens to me today's scripture. It says, I show favor where I choose to show favor. I show mercy where I choose to show mercy. And don't get in my way. Because honestly, some of you are probably saying, but the Holy Spirit can't fall there. They're Catholic. Holy Spirit can't fall there. Don't get the doctrine right. And I'm a Jew, so of all things, I would be the first one to go, what? I'm not so sure. But it was the Spirit of the Lord, truly. So when I was coming home, I don't remember what airport I was in. I was one of those interminable waits in the airport. I was daydreaming. And I see it again. Except it wasn't the church. It wasn't that church. And I'm daydreaming, and I'm looking at it, and I'm going, oh, I know this, that's us, I see it, that's us. Same crowd. We were someplace, not here, not downstairs, not upstairs, I don't know where we were. Huge crowd. Every fixed seat was full. Folding chairs are full. People slammed up to the walls. People are spilling down out the hallway to the parking lot. People are arguing with our ushers and our, up there. I know there's no room. The fire code says we can't come in. But we just want to say, we're about to bless the floor. We want to come in. Let us come hear the floor. Please let us say 5 blessings and hear the floor. People trying to get into worship, fighting to come into worship. And we were having the Lord's Supper, and it was all out of order because I was daydreaming. And we couldn't fit them in, of course, because fire code. So we're sending lots of grape juice down Bellevue. We have a new one, Holly Street.